Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to Reference Point. I'm your host, Dave Cokerhook. And with me this evening are two guests from an organization called Hands On Bay Area. Very interesting organization. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about who Hands On Bay Area is, what they do, why they do it, etc. But I want to introduce my two guests first. With me tonight are Lou Rita, who's the Director of Programs, and Beth Kreitz, who's the Community Programs Manager, or one of the community Programs Managers, I guess is more appropriately stated, over there at Hands On Bay Area. So welcome, both of you. I really appreciate your coming here tonight and joining us on Reference Point.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit more about your organization. I have to tell you that I heard about Hands On Bay Area through kind of a fluky sort of thing. I was here at the studios, and I guess you'd had some interaction with the folks at KMVT at one point for something, and I happened to see the DVD that was created on your organization. But before that, I didn't even know you existed. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you guys actually do and why you do it.
So it's not unusual that people don't know about us, and we're trying to change that, of course. We are a small nonprofit, and our whole focus, our whole passion in life is about making it easy for people to give back to the community.
Okay.
So there are a lot of barriers to volunteering, and we try to identify those barriers and lower them as much as possible. That's kind of our goal.
Barriers to volunteering. Now, when we talk about barriers to volunteering, what kind of thing are we talking about?
Sometimes it's time, and some people just don't know that they have the time to give back. So we make it really easy by having, programs that are tailored to meet people's working schedules. So if you have some time in the evening or on the weekend, we make it really easy for you to get involved. And we make it easy for the whole family to get involved too, because we have great programs for many people and different age levels.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about the programs in a minute, but let's concentrate on this area of barriers for a second, because one of the things and the kind of work that I've always done, I've been in sales and marketing all my life, and they're always talking about lowering the barriers to entry. How do you get the client to want to move forward? So I can see where time would be one thing, because we all think we're like ultimately busy and don't have time. But what else are some of these other barriers that you observed?
Another one, for example, would be the, I don't want to say embarrassment factor, but the factor of having to go by yourself to some place and just show up and do something. So the way around that is by making sure that people do it in a team. So we have projects set up specifically for groups of people, or for you to show up and be part of a team of folks who are doing the similar thing or in the similar place as you are. So you don't have to do it alone.
Okay, so you may or may not know who these other people are, but at least you know that you're not going to show up all by your lonesome and be asked to do something that you have no idea what's going on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then there's the commitment factor. A lot of times if you're going to volunteer as an individual, organizations ask you to give 6 months or a year of your time. We've set up our projects so that you can go to one project and that's it. Or you go to a project every week if you wanted to. It's really then up to what you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, so we're trying to make it easy for guys like me to be able to do something to get involved in their community in some way, shape, or form. Okay. By the way, I want to make sure that the folks know how to reach you guys. We're going to do this a few times as we go through the discussion today, because I think that this is all very relevant. We've got your phone number, your website, etc., that we're going to direct people to. And if they have any questions, they can always send a query through us at info@referencepointtv.com, which is our email address. But let's talk some more about these kinds of programs, because I'm curious about that. Now, are these things that you guys put together? I mean, you are the program arrangers for the various things, or how does that all work?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
a lot of people come to us. Agencies identify Hands On Bay Area as a great way to get more volunteers and to get their volunteer programs launched, and they understand that we're an expert in what we do in our community. And so a lot of agencies will come to us with some volunteering questions. How do I get volunteers? How do I get them involved? And then we make it really easy by understanding what their needs are and also posting it on our website.
Okay, so these are the kinds of local community nonprofit organizations that are trying to find people to help them out with a special activity, or in general, I need people like full-time, or all of the above, or how does that work?
All of the above. A great example are schools. We do a lot of work with schools, a lot of projects. So schools, their resources are always stretched thin.
Sure.
and don't have the capability necessary to manage volunteers to help them. So with a school where there's no volunteer coordinator or anybody like that in charge of getting volunteers, we step in, we help them scope out projects, and they could be anything from getting something painted, like the gymnasium that's old and looks terrible, or doing mentoring projects for youth, or reading projects and things like that. So where they don't have any kind of infrastructure to use volunteers, even though they desperately need them, we step in and provide that for them.
That's an interesting thing that you just mentioned, Lou, because I think before the show you were telling me how your people will actually act as a project coordinator to help pull the resources, the information, to scope out what's the order of magnitude of this project. The school wants, as an example, a school wants to do something like paint a gymnasium. If they haven't thought about it, they really don't have any idea of how big a project that really is. Is that pretty true?
Pretty true. Exactly. And the good thing is we've done it so many times. We know how many people it takes to paint a room. We know, how to make it a good experience for the volunteers, and we provide all the tools. So it's,
there you go.
Which is something that people don't often think about. It's like, well, I've got a paintbrush.
Right,
but if you've got 30 people, of course you need tools for 30 people to work together.
Sure. Let's talk about this timeline thing a little bit. You mentioned you've done it many times. How long has the organization been in place?
So Hands-On Bay Area as an organization has been in place since 2004 when we merged, but we were formed from two different organizations.
Oh, okay.
One was called Community Impact, which has been around since 1988, and then the other one was called Hands-On San Francisco, which had started in 2000.
Oh, okay. 1988, 2000. And were these groups doing similar kinds of things, or how did that?
So they were working with similar agencies throughout the entire Bay Area, and it came together as a process of understanding that we need to reduce how many agencies we were working with together, and to figure out a good solution to actually gathering all the volunteer pool together and giving them better outlets to volunteer. And so we did that as a way to collaborate.
Okay, okay. And then you actually recognizing that there was sort of a benefit in pooling your resources, the two organizations came together. Okay?
Right.
And so now where are you headquartered?
We're headquartered in San Francisco.
Okay.
Right by the Caltrain station.
Okay.
Makes it very easy to come to work.
Yes,
cool.
it does.
All right. And is that your only location?
No, we have several satellite offices. We have one in Oakland and one in Milpitas.
Okay. Oakland, Milpitas. So East Bay, South Bay, San Francisco and Peninsula, you pretty much cover it all then?
Yes.
Okay. And that's really good. So you've got a staff of people that are helping to coordinate these activities, et cetera, that are your personnel.
Right.
And then you've got a pool of volunteers then that will look to come and say, hey, I want to do something, what can I do? And then you kind of point them in a direction based on their interest. Is that kind of the way that goes?
Pretty much. Really, you as an individual would go to the website and say, I'm interested in helping homeless people. Then we have a whole bunch of projects. Then you would browse a calendar and see, well, what kind of projects are helping homeless people? There's projects to feed homeless people. There's projects to help prepare kits for homeless people. Whatever then grabs your attention as something that you want to do, you feel passionate about, and then you just sign up and go.
Cool. And it's no long-term commitment or any of that sort of thing?
No, you can go once. You can go as many times as you want. You could go 2 hours a day, 2 hours in a month, or 20 hours in a month. It's up to you. It's how much time you have to give back to the community.
Right, which is great.
And we see the full spectrum of folks out there, folks who volunteer once and that's it. They don't do anything else. And then we have folks who are really committed and put in a huge number of hours.
Sure, it's like almost any type of a
Right.
thing. Sure. So now how long have you, Lou, been associated with the organization?
I've been with the organization for 4 years now.
For 4 years.
Started
Okay.
Just celebrating in May, my 4th year anniversary.
Okay. And Beth, how about you?
I've been with Hands-On for almost 3 years
Almost
now.
3 years,
November will be my 3rd year.
Okay, great. And both of you were part of, when you joined the Hands-On San Francisco? Because I think from what you were telling me of when the merge was, so you started with Hands-On San Francisco? Or
We both started with Community Impact.
Oh, you did?
actually.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
All right.
I started out as a volunteer, and then I became a project leader. I was one of the first project leaders at Hands on Bay Area.
Oh, really?
I went through, I think, the first or second training that we ever held as a merged organization. And then I stuck around so much that eventually I wanted to join the staff because I thought the work was so worthwhile and rewarding.
That's great. So how did you find out about the organization to begin with?
It was word of mouth. Someone told me that Community Impact at the time was a great organization to work for, or actually to volunteer with, and so I wanted to check it out, and I saw it on the website, and I saw what great programs that they had, and I joined.
That's a good point, the word of mouth thing, because as I had mentioned, I hadn't heard about the organization at all. It was sort of by accident that I stumbled across the name Hands on Bay Area.
Right.
So what vehicles do you use to raise community awareness that you folks are actually there and that people can come and volunteer through you?
So word of mouth is the big one. You know, our volunteers have great experiences and they tell other people and get other people involved. That's a big one. We do a lot on the website. You know, you can go to Google, put our name in, or put in the word volunteer and we come up. So online is really important for us, and we try to do outreach to press outlets whenever we can, like press releases and things like that.
Okay.
That's mainly how we do it.
Let's talk a little bit about the experience for the person that's volunteering. You mentioned, Beth, that you started working with the group with Community Impact, and the experience was really good, and you kept coming back, etc. What is it about the way your organization puts these community service activities together that causes people to feel so good about it and want to continue to work through you?
Well, I think the continuum of service is just something that appealed to me, because when I went to my project the first time, I noticed there was a project leader. How can I become a project leader? Well, you know, go to 3 projects and you volunteer. Well, how can I help out hands-on even more? It just gave me more and more opportunities to get involved. And I think the thing that attracted to me the most was the fact that it made it so easy to volunteer. You could do it any time, and then I came in and I did it as much as possible.
And then adding to that, the thing that hooks me in all the time and keeps me going is the look on the faces of the people we help. Because our model is hands-on, if you will. We're there with the people who are on the ground making a difference in the lives of folks who need help. And it's the looks on their faces that are really the most reward.
And it's also the stories you hear from the volunteers too. I was at Lytton Gardens in Palo Alto as a volunteer. I've actually been a project leader there for 3.5 years. And I had heard of a story from a 105-year-old woman who lived there and heard her stories, and that was probably the most rewarding thing that I had ever heard in my life so far, just to sit down and talk to her about her 60 years of experience in life, and it was amazing.
I think that's wonderful to hear, and I think that's one of the more important things for our viewing audience to understand. You know, when you give back, when you do something in the community, when you do something that has an impact in the life of someone else, you get things from that are intangible. Okay, and that rush, that sense of accomplishment is really very significant. And so one of the things that I was real excited about when I heard about what your organization does is that you do make it possible for someone to kind of reach in and taste that a little bit. They don't have to eat the whole elephant at one time, so to speak. You could take a little nibble here and a little nibble there, and you start to really feel that you're actually doing something. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you're doing 100 hours or a month, or if you're doing 2 hours a month. If you're doing something, you're actually being able to participate in that real positive way. I think that's fantastic. Now, are all the projects you guys do coordinated just through individuals like that?
When you say coordinated by individuals?
Well, through individuals. I mean, is it just like the individuals who might go up on your website and say, I want to do something, and you've coordinated with
Yes.
the various agencies, and then so it's all done just as individual to individual type thing?
Well, we have programs for individual members of the community, and we also have programs that help teams of people from corporations, for example. A group of folks who want to volunteer together from a company could go and volunteer also.
Now, how does that work?
So what happens is we have these great corporate partners who contact us and say, we really want to give back to the community. It's important to us. It's part of our corporate values. And could you help us? We want to volunteer, but we can only volunteer on Wednesday from 1 to 5. Can you do that? And of course, that's when we go into action and we put together a project that's specific for them so that they can, as a team, go out and work together on doing something.
And how do you manage to put a project together specifically for them?
Mostly it's because of our great relationship with the community-based organizations we work with. Schools, for example, schools of course need help. We say we have a team of folks who want to come and paint that gymnasium we talked about and that you really would like to have fixed. And so we arrange everything for the school and coordinate it with the company. They just show up with their folks and we paint.
Very cool. So a company out there, large or small, who has something that a team of people that want to do something, then do what they call up Hands on Bay Area and say, hey, we're XYZ company and we've got 12 people that want to do something. And do they give you like a general area of interest? Is that the way that works? Or probably could, or maybe it doesn't necessarily. They say, we've just got people, what's out there for us to do? Any of the above, I'm guessing.
Well, companies, like individuals, are the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
We have companies who just say, we want to do something good. Just tell us what
tell
to
us
do,
what to do.
where to show
Send us
up, and when.
someplace.
Send us any place. And then we have some that are very specific. We want to start at 10:03 and finish by then, and we want it to be involved with youth, and we want to work directly with them, whatever it is.
Now, when you're doing a project that's for a corporate sponsor or whatever, you have a project leader, one of your people is a project leader for that project as well? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a lot of specially trained project leaders who are able to provide expert project management at each of the sites. Or we have staff also attending the projects.
Okay. All right. So your guys really help to move it along all the way. You're making it one of the things that I've always observed in running any kind of activity is the challenge of keeping things on track. Okay, and it sounds like you've got the resources, the human resources, to be able to dedicate to whatever the project is to make sure it stays on track and that the objective established by sending these people there actually get done, which I think is probably one of the challenges that some people have with volunteering for an activity. You go in and you sit around and what am I doing, and how we're not really getting anything done, and it's not a good experience, and then you go home and you say, well, that was a waste of my time.
Exactly. It's very true, and it happens a lot. And that one of our hallmarks is that every single one of our project is managed. We have a project leader. We've done the development work, meaning we've talked to the agency in advance, gone out to visit with them, figured out what the project is going to look like, and we make sure that everything's in place so that as soon as the people get there, they start working, and they're working the entire time until the end.
Cool. That's very good.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, tight-run ship.
We try, yes.
All right. So, Beth, tell us a little bit about your specific responsibilities within the organization.
So my responsibility as a community program manager is to make sure that the individual volunteers, like you and I, have a good experience when they go out to a project and the weekends and the evenings. And also just to make sure that the agencies are aware that we're sending these volunteers and how they're supposed to manage their projects as well, and to help and inform them about the great volunteers that we're sending them, and to make sure that the volunteer experience is a positive one. And then I also help to coordinate with the agencies when it comes to the corporate programs that we operate. So I help in conjunction with the corporate program managers that we have. I also help with the agencies to figure out what the needs are of the community to get those corporate volunteers in place and ready to go, and get them running on the ground pretty quickly.
Got it. So you're working on both sides of the equation with the volunteers themselves, whether it be a corporate group or individuals, and with the agencies that they're going to go out and service,
Right.
to make sure that everything kind of gets done smoothly and correctly. Okay, that's cool. And are you the only person that has that type of a position in the company?
No, I have a senior community program manager, Dana Blecker, and another community program manager, Erica Jones, who also does the same kind of position, but in different regions throughout the Bay Area.
And your region is what?
I'm in the peninsula, which means San Mateo County. And then I also help to manage the San Francisco Youth and Tutoring Program. So I help to do the after school or in the evening programs with the youth of San Francisco that desperately need help in getting good, a good session with an adult to read and everything like that.
Got it. Excellent. And then Lou, your direct responsibilities are what? As director of programs, I mean, you're just sort of like Chief Mucky Muck kind of thing,
sort
right?
of. Sort of. Which is interesting because it was a challenge for me because I love the more hands-on being out there and doing things like Beth is doing now. But pretty much my role is a different kind of service. It's being, more supporting Beth and her colleagues to make sure that they have everything they need to do their work.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the regions that you're serving. And I heard you mention someone who's responsible for San Francisco, and then you're down here in the peninsula, San Mateo County, and then you've got the work that you do with the youth in San Francisco. And I guess you have a third person in Oakland that's serving what, Alameda and Contra Costa County, or in Santa Clara County, or how?
Yes.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, pretty much around the Bay is the focus of our work.
Okay.
We have done work as far north as Napa, and as far south as Santa Cruz, as far east as Stockton even.
Wow.
But really, the majority of our work, the focus of our work is around the Bay.
Okay. And this is probably not a fair question, but when you look at where do you find the concentration of where projects are delivered? I mean, is there any geography that seems to be more active than others?
Right now, the majority or the biggest region is San Francisco, the city itself, followed by Santa Clara, and then the East Bay. But that's not an indication of need or an indication of desire to volunteer. It's more historical fact. That's just the way we've developed and where it is right now. There's a huge amount of opportunity for doing good throughout the Bay.
Indeed. So how can we here, through what we're doing at Reference Point, help you spread the word other than doing a show like this, where we reach the communities here in the South Bay and on the peninsula to a certain degree? But what kinds of things do you look for organizations to do to help support your efforts?
Well, the first thing I would say is come out and volunteer with us. We make it easy for groups, even all of your crew members in the show, to come out if you want to and volunteer. That would be great.
Yeah.
But just helping us get the word out is really useful and helpful. The more people hear that it's easy to volunteer, it's fun, and it can be rewarding for them, the more they'll be interested in doing it.
And if we go up to your website, what do we find on the website? What kind of information is going to be up there on the site?
Well, you're going to find our easy online orientation, which you can click on to actually begin your volunteer experience. It'll only take you 2 minutes to complete, and at that point you'll have an access of over 120 different types of projects every month.
Wow.
And so you can choose from the things that suit you the most in your time and schedule and your interest level, and also we have programs from environmental to seniors, and also hunger and homelessness projects. And so anything that you would want to find in a volunteer experience, we have to offer on our website. So it's handsonbayarea.org.
Okay.
And also just to let people know that they're not alone, that there's a lot of people out there who want to give back and do things, and that we're all kind of in the same boat of feeling a little nervous about it, about feeling like we don't have time, or that sometimes that what we do is not necessarily going to provide value.
Yeah.
And just to let people know that it's not true. Everyone has something great to contribute.
I think that last point that you made is actually very significant, because a lot of people will feel that, what can I really do? Okay, and even if I do something, is it really going to have any impact? We hear all the negative stuff that goes on. You open the newspaper, look at the TV, all you hear is the doom and gloom and whatever. But you guys do some pretty cool things. I'm actually going to jump onto a subject, because I mentioned something before the show started. I asked you a question about, does Hands-On Bay Area become involved in any way if there are some of these major problems? The earthquake just happened in Peru. We've got a hurricane in the Caribbean. A couple of years ago, Katrina hit the Gulf Coast and stuff like that. And you were saying that you're actually in a position to draw people together to be able to dispatch, to help in situations like that too. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing that we're very proud of is we put together volunteer projects where groups of people can go to the Gulf Coast and help with the rebuilding effort. We've done that a couple of times now for corporate partners, for individuals in the community. It's a big commitment. People go for a week and live there for a week in kind of dorm-like living environment, and really work every day very hard at helping the folks down there rebuild their lives.
So you can do anything from giving a couple of hours to help a student learn how to read, to spending 2 weeks helping dig people out of the problem in something like what happened with Katrina. So the whole spectrum of availability, and letting people know, giving them access, and knowing that you can in fact give back, which I think is really very, very powerful. We're just about out of time here, and I want to thank you guys again for coming. I want to make sure everybody knows you can reach Hands-On Bay Area, www.handsonbayarea.org. And if you have any specific questions about this, I know that there's a query section on your website so that they can send questions in, or if you want to send questions through Reference Point, info@referencepointtv.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions. So I just want to thank you guys again. It's been wonderful having you here. I think you're doing tremendous things. I'm very glad that I stumbled onto your to what it is that you're doing, and really appreciate the fact that you came to inform me and to help our viewers understand more about what great work you guys are doing. So to the viewers out there, go up to their website, check it out. Thank you for coming here again, and we'll see you next time on Reference Point.